You know what? When you say one, I was about to say one of those internet things, but this may get misconstrued, so I'm not going to say it. Want to see a you know what after someone like breeds somebody or whatever. But you want to see an out of control, unhinged president who just got smacked down. All you have to do was watch the press conference today after the Supreme Court finally checks Donald Trump and introduces him to the word no. Amazing. Welcome to Friday, everyone. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5. Thank you for joining. First order of business, you guys know what it is. Thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up and the like, and whatever platform you're on. Let me tell you, this is where we are. We're on YouTube right now. We are on Twitch right now. We are on Instagram right now. We are on TikTok right now. We're on Substack right now. And we're on Facebook right now. We're everywhere. The Lemon Nation is all over. So I would like to know where you are streaming from. And let me know. Oh, someone, thank you. Can we go back to this? I'm going to have to read a lot of comments today because they're going fast. Did we slow these down, Nikki? Are these slowed down?
These are, yes, it's slow mode is on.
Someone said he was pissed, and he was, and he is. Oh, here it is. And he was, and he is. It's like Billy Porter. When Billy Porter was like, fuck, he was pissed. And throwing a tantrum like he is supposed to. He was throwing a tantrum like a boy king, like a baby, a man boy, is what he was doing. Let me see what the best example. We have some great guests for you. Oh, by the way, hello, legends. The legends are here. The Lemon Legends are here. Welcome to the Lemon Nation. Look at them. Do it. All right. The Lemon Nation is here. We'll see. We'll probably get more to join, but we're glad that you guys are here on a Friday evening. Thank you so much. Legends, we'll see the legends in just a little bit. But let me see. This is a good example of Donald Trump and how ticked off he was. But first, should we show? Well, let's show the CNN clip and then we'll show him. Let's show the CNN clip and then we'll show him.
Yeah, Pamela, we still have no official reaction from the White House or President Trump. We are waiting. I am told that they are meeting, discussing how they are going to respond. But we have learned more about what happened in the room when President Trump was with those governors and he learned of the Supreme Court decision. Apparently, the breakfast had been going well. They were working together. And then President Trump became enraged. He started ranting about the decision, not only calling it a disgrace, but started attacking the courts, at one point saying, "These effing courts," but using the actual language there. We know that President Trump does use expletives on quite often when he is enraged in particular. Now, this, of course, comes as this tariff policy. This could not be a bigger decision for President Trump. This could not be a bigger loss for President Trump. Not only is so much of his economic agenda based on these tariffs, so much of his foreign policy is based on these tariffs. He has used these tariffs as leverage in almost every meeting that he has had around the world. He has touted them as the most important part of the economic agenda. So clearly a huge loss, and he recognizes that today.
Oh, he was enraged. I hear that a lot about the Trump folks. Pam Bondi was enraged when they wouldn't arrest Don. Donald Trump was enraged. Enraged when the justice system is working right. When the judicial branch is operating in the way that it should be. Enraged. So let's see that. I just thought he was acting like a baby. Someone had you put it up, Nikki, and I think I knocked it down by accident, but compared him to Baby Huey. Okay, so this is how far up this man's you know what he is. And this is also the perfect example of when I tell you guys that the whole thing is a show, that they're producing this entire presidency and every day as if it is a television show. So this is in the briefing room just moments before Donald Trump comes out. Now, if you have ever been to a concert, you'll know what's up. Watch. Oh my gosh. When the sun goes down on my side of town. That lonesome feeling. Anyways, that is what happens. That's what happened in the briefing room when the president shows up. Now, the president has been in the briefing room a number of times. It is a reality show is what they're doing. And now, without further ado, I'm just going to tell you, this is Donald Trump saying SCOTUS that he can destroy the country, but he can't change a fee. Here it is.
And we'll be a lot stronger for it. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We'll continue to do so. To show you how ridiculous the opinion is, however, the court said that I'm not allowed to charge even $1. I can't charge $1. Can't charge $1. I would have used 1 penny, but we don't make the pennies anymore. We save money. Can't charge $1 to any country under IEPA. Not $1. I assume to protect other countries. This must have been done to protect those other countries. Certainly
Pause,
not
please.
the United States of.
Now, do you guys know what Arrested Development is? So for you guys know what Arrested, he sounds to me like someone who has Arrested Development. Again, I'm not a physician or whatever, but he just sounds like at some point he stopped evolving or maturing. And he sounds like, and then mommy told me I couldn't. And then, but I can do whatever, and you let Billy do whatever he wants, but you won't let me do whatever I want. He hit me first. That's what he sounds like. Keep going.
America, which they should be interested in protecting. That's what they're supposed to be protecting. But I am allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with that same country. In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1. Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way it even reads. I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. I could give them a little two-cent fee, but I cannot charge under any circumstances. I cannot charge them anything. Think of that. How ridiculous is that? I'm allowed to embargo them. I'm allowed to tell them you can't do business in the United States anymore. We want you out of here. But if I want to charge them $10, I can't do that.
Pause.
Their decision.
How long? How much longer is in there, Andy?
Just 7 seconds.
Okay, 7 seconds. Go on, finish. You can finish it.
It's incorrect, but it doesn't matter because we have very powerful alternatives that have been approved by this decision.
I mean, even the way he's talking is like a kid. So, look, you guys, when I'm like, do you know what Arrested Development? I'm not talking about the TV show. I'm talking about Arrested Development. This is what Arrested Development is. It refers to a pause in emotional, social, or cognitive maturation, often leaving individuals with adult physical bodies, but childlike coping mechanisms or immature behaviors. That's what they call Arrested Development. Again, that's what it seems like to me. Like he is a child, that he has the development and the maturity of a child, but in an adult body. That's what it looks like to me. And the fact that he gets upset and then he talks, he says, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do this and all of the things and I'm so mad. And then he does what he does all the time. They blame activist judges or people who have an agenda or all kinds of things. This is him blaming. He's saying he accuses the Supreme Court of being controlled by foreign interests.
Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court. And it's happened so often with this court. What a shame. Having to do with voting in particular. When in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it.
Pause.
Very unpatriotic and
okay, so he is accusing the Supreme Court of the United States, conservative members of the Supreme Court of the United States who voted on this. He's accusing them of being rhinos, and he's saying they're being controlled by foreign interests. I mean, there are some folks on the Supreme Court that have been accused of that, and then you said no because they were conservatives. I mean, you don't believe it, but now that they have ruled against you, you want to call them rhinos and unpatriotic. It's crazy. Keep going.
It's loyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement. I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide.
Okay, he thinks just because he won by a certain number of votes that gives him the authority to be able to do whatever he wants. That's not how it works. And the thing is that it's not how it works and it's not how it should work. But people have allowed him to get away with it for so long, he actually believes it. That he is a king, that he is a dictator or an authoritarian, although he would not probably use that language for himself. It wouldn't be a self-diagnosis that he is either of those things. But that's what he thinks. And behaved like a child during that briefing. I want to bring in now someone who can discuss this with us, and someone who I love talking to when I worked in corporate media. He has served the Massachusetts 6th Congressional District since 2015. He's now running for Senate, and that is Representative Seth Moulton. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I'm coming from a coffee shop out in Western Massachusetts.
You are. You're on the move.
Yes.
For us.
On the move, out on the campaign trail. Yep.
Oh, good for you, and congratulations, and good luck with that. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. But can we discuss first of all the Supreme Court ruling, and then I don't know if you caught the president's reaction today. It was like a child throwing a tantrum.
Yep, that's what he is. He's like the man-child president. And so none of this was a surprise. I mean, he's obviously exceeded his executive authority. He does that every single day. The only part that was perhaps surprising is the fact that the Supreme Court actually did something about it, because the Supreme Court seems to be pretty partisan these days, which it's not supposed to be. But they did the right thing and struck this down. But people were asking me earlier today, right after the ruling came out and before the president's comments, what I thought would happen. And I just said he's going to find a way to go around it. He's just going to avoid the law or evade the law some other way. He'll get sued for that, but it will take a while for that next lawsuit to wind its way through the courts up to the Supreme Court. And of course, that's exactly what he said he's going to do.
You are saying what I said earlier. I believe the same thing, that this is not going to stop him. He's still going to try to do it, or as you said, he'll get sued, and by the time that ends up being litigated, he'll be out of office. I mean, fingers crossed. But you're right.
Now,
So,
I mean, look, if I were if I were a conspiracy theorist here, I would say, it's interesting that when he does something that's really, good for him but bad for the country, like tries to take over federal agencies, the Supreme Court seems to have his back. When he does something that is bad for the economy, is ultimately going to hurt him, the Supreme Court shuts it down. That'd be a little bit cynical. But this is an example of the Supreme Court doing the right thing, so at least let's acknowledge that.
well, he is calling the members of the Supreme Court who did not, who didn't go along with him. He's calling them rhinos and unpatriotic. And I mean, he's the one who put a significant number of judges on the bench, and some of them voted against him. But now he's calling them. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and also let's not forget he's calling them rhinos because he expects them to be partisan. He expects them to be political on the Supreme Court. That's why he put these people there. And of course, that's not the job of the Supreme Court. It's never been the job of the Supreme Court. This is another example of Trump just not even understanding the basic principles of the U.S. Constitution.
Congressman, I'm not sure if you're the person to talk about this, but I had an attorney on this morning and we were discussing that because this broke as we were on our morning live stream. And that money, if these are unconstitutional, that money should be returned to taxpayers who paid, who had to pay more because of tariffs. So is anyone going to see that money? Where is that money? What's going to happen?
I mean, I don't know. I bet the Trump family sees some part of it. He'll probably figure out some corrupt way to, turn it into Trump crypto or whatever. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. But he also said he's going to fight the lawsuit to have a legal battle over getting this money back. People don't understand that these costs are borne by the American consumer. And he keeps peddling this lie that China or other nations are paying the tariffs. No, we're paying them. We're paying them. The money's getting collected by companies going to the U.S. Treasury. That money needs to now go back to U.S. companies that collected the tariffs. So this is not the end of this story. It's barely even the middle.
He's also saying that the Supreme Court justices are a disgrace to the nation. Watch.
The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no, no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. But you can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people.
Have you ever heard a president talk about a Supreme Court justice like that? Supreme Court justices of the court in that manner?
Never in history. Never in history. Any other president would be ashamed to trample on the Constitution, the rule of law, and blatantly try to politicize every institution that he can touch. Now, I'm a veteran, so I particularly get bothered by his attempts to politicize the military. I mean, he's taking an institution with great respect in America today, one of the few institutions that retains respect on both sides of the aisle, and blatantly try to politicize it, which abuses our troops. It completely disregards their oath to the Constitution. And he's forgetting that the oath that we take in government to serve in the federal government is to the Constitution. That's the oath he took too. It's not to the Republican Party. It's not to himself, which seems to be the only test that matters in Donald Trump world. It's to the Constitution.
To the point that I was making about where does that money go, Congressman, I want to play this because it's not only average everyday American citizens, but there are people who have made commitments, have signed commitments to their shareholders and their stockholders. And one of those is Kevin O'Leary, and he said today was not a good day. I want you to listen to what he says.
Great to see you. So this has got to be a pretty big day in your world. What has the reaction been?
It's not a great day for me. We were humming along nicely until this morning. Here's what's happening on the ground. I know you've been talking about the politics and the policy, but let's talk about a business making $100 million in sales. It might have paid out $5 million in the last 14 months on these tariffs. And they're in my portfolio. I got phone calls from our customers, from our lenders because we borrowed against our line of credit, and from our shareholders that we reduced distributions on during this period waiting to settle on the tariffs. They all want their money back. Now, to be compliant, what am I supposed to do? I don't even know how this is going to get filed. It's going to be with Treasury, not the IRS, I assume. I'm going to try and get a meeting with staffers, best of staffers, when I get to the State of the Union next week to see if they can give me some guidance, because my head's getting squeezed from the top and the bottom to be compliant. And every business in America is going through this right now. There are people that want their money back within the distribution, shareholder, and lender system. And for me, and I'm telling you right now, you're the first to hear it, I'm setting up a resource called wondertrust.com, hiring, if not hundreds, thousands of accountants and lawyers, because I don't know how else to be compliant. And I'm going to use them with my companies. We're just What else are we supposed to do? Because everybody wants their money back. And I don't know what the policy is going to be on that. It's not a great afternoon for me, to be honest with you.
Do you
Okay,
feel like
so there's a little irony in that, considering that he is such a Trumper and MAGA and a supporter of the president, and now it seems that, excuse me, this is my language, it seems like Kevin O'Leary has fucked around and found out.
Yep, it seems that exactly. And he's not going to get much of a sympathetic ear from Donald Trump, because Donald Trump doesn't worry about being compliant in his businesses. His businesses always broke the law. They didn't pay their taxes. They didn't have to deal with issues like this because he would just skirt the law when he didn't like it. And so this guy may be a MAGA Republican. It also sounds like he's actually trying to do the right thing for all his different, shareholders, constituents, whatever in his business. I don't think he's going to get a helpful ear from the president.
Well, I mean, it is going to be a mess. I mean, how much? That's a lot of litigation, and I don't even know how that would work. But since we're here, I want to know how do we not get back into this situation? And I assume that's why you are running for Senate. And I hope this is part of your platform. I hope that you have like no crazy people in the White House and more constraints and rules for the president of the United States and for lawmakers in general.
Absolutely. Look, I'm running because I don't think we can afford to wait 6 more years for new leadership, either in Massachusetts, in America, or in the Democratic Party. I mean, the establishment Democrats have gotten us a second term of Donald Trump. He's hurting a lot of people all across America, and we've just got to admit that the old playbook isn't working. I mean, how is it that we lost across the board to the first convicted felon ever to run for president? We've got to look ourselves in the mirror and be willing to change. And when you look across the Democratic Party today, the bright spots, like all those wins on the East Coast in November, were next generation leaders, and next generation leaders willing to challenge the party establishment. But to your second question, Don, was about what do we need to change? We've got to learn some lessons here about how fragile our democracy actually is. And we can hope against hope that we never have another Donald Trump, because we hadn't really had one until this point. But instead, we've got to be willing to make some reforms. I certainly do not count on the Republicans to make any of those reforms. But that means that when a Democrat is elected, hopefully in 2028, that Democratic president, she or he is probably not going to want to give up one of the most awesome powers of the presidency, which is the power of presidential pardons. But honestly, we've learned that Trump completely abuses that power. He's made it totally corrupt. And so it's important for Democrats to do the right thing for the country and probably rein it in. Those are some of the tough choices for our democracy. Investing in the future, being willing to change so that nothing like this ever happens again, that Democrats have to make, because we have to lead. In the absence of leadership from the Republicans, we have got to lead, not just oppose Trump, although I think we can fight him harder, but actually lead for the country.
What do you think should happen with the court? Because there are folks who believe that if a Democratic president should be allowed, or at least try to pack the courts, expand the number of justices. Do you agree with that?
I do on a principled level, because they're not playing by the traditional rules. We can't just hope that they do the right thing, right? We've got to fight back. And I would like to get to a point where we have mandatory retirements on a schedule for justices, so that presidents get to appoint justices on a regular schedule. And it's not just due to the whims of who retires or who dies, which is how we got into this place with Trump. But let's not also forget, we've gotten to this place where he basically controls the courts, become partisan because of what Mitch McConnell did to Merrick Garland, and just throwing out the rules that the Senate has followed for hundreds of years, and changing those rules so that he could just force in Republican nominees to the court. And we can't just take that sitting down. We can't. We have got to fight back. And maybe if we propose some of these more radical changes, some of the Republicans might actually come to the table and come up with a reasonable bipartisan compromise. But we got to stop playing defense here. Democrats need to go on offense. I think that's a big change we need to make as a party.
You're way more optimistic than I am because I don't look after witnessing what I've witnessed over the last 10 years of just covering Donald Trump almost on a daily basis. I just don't know if there's any turning back in our country for this. Look, I don't know how you do it because every time I go to DC, I leave exhausted. And I'm like, I don't know how anybody can work in this town, but I'm going to be there next week for the State of the Union. What are you expecting to hear and to happen?
I mean, I think it'll be a disgrace. I think it'll be an absolute disgrace. And I'm proud to be participating in one of the, like the response to the State of the Unions that's being organized. But I also think it's important to show up. And I'm bringing an amazing American with me, an 18-year-old honor student athlete from Milford, Massachusetts, who was rolled up by ICE, thrown in a detention facility, sleeping on a concrete floor, couldn't even get a Bible, let alone a decent thing to eat, in a room with no windows, so we didn't even know what time of day it was. I mean, this is inhumane. And yet the whole time he was in there, he was helping his fellow inmates, often people twice his age, doing translation, helping them understand the law, helping them communicate with their families. And he came out, I was there the moment he was released, and he came out and was just such a gentleman, such a selfless American, the kind of model American that we should all look up to. So I'm bringing him to the State of the Union to put a human face on the horrific things that Trump is doing with ICE to terrorize blue cities across the country. And so I'm going to be excited to be there and stare Donald Trump down.
Yeah, I'm going to be excited to be there. I'm sure I'll be excited to leave. I'm not actually going to the State of the Union, although I was invited. I'm not going to the State of the Union itself, but I will be in town for it. Just one real quick. Can you just talk for a minute about the attacks on institutions in this country from this president, the attacks on the amendment, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the due process, all of that? Do you? Just a general, like, what do you think of that? I shouldn't be surprised by it. I'm a bit flummoxed that they have gone as far as they have gone to demonize people, to prosecute people, and to just to get their way. And it just seems like because they want to be evil, or they are evil.
They are. They're evil. They're inhumane. They're immoral. I think we need to focus on the fact that they're just fundamentally un-American. I mean, it is a disgrace that Republicans still claim the flag and patriotism, and Democrats need to win that back. We need to win back the flag and patriotism because we are the ones standing up for the flag. We are the ones fighting for our Constitution. We are the ones holding this democracy together. And I don't want Americans to ever forget who was on the right side of history when Donald Trump was president.
Are you there, Don? Oh, he got his internet.
I am back.
Oh, I didn't know if it was me or him. Okay.
Oh no, it may be both of us, but I'm back. I'm back, baby. I didn't catch the end of what you said, but I think the audience did. Were you done with your thought? Because I didn't hear any.
I was. Yeah.
I appreciate you joining us, and best of luck to you. I hope that you do win, and maybe I will see you in D.C. next week. But Representative Seth Moulton has served Massachusetts Congressional District since 2015. Yeah, and he's currently running for Senate. Go ahead.
No, thank you for having me on, and thank you for being a great patriot just by doing what you do every single day and not backing down.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
I appreciate it. You too. You keep it up. Thank you very much, Congressman Seth Moulton.
Thanks.
Maybe we'll be calling him Senator one of these times when we see him in the near future. Okay, so there we go. We heard from him, and we're going to hear from really smart people about these tariffs and what's going on in America, the president's response. We have a lot to discuss. Plus, we have these guys who we love. These guys. Can we throw them up? The legends. We're going to call them the legends of the fall. We're not going to call them the legends of the fall. We're going to call them the legends of the rise of the Lemon Nation. We'll hear from them and our experts, but first a word from our sponsors. This episode of the Don Lemon Show is brought to you by Graza, makers of crazy fresh olive oil and some seriously good olive oil-based staples. If you've been in my kitchen, you know that I don't play about ingredients. I cook a lot, I host a lot, and olive oil is the backbone of almost everything I make. Graza keeps it simple and fresh. You've got sizzle for everyday cooking, sauteing, roasting, marinating, and then you have drizzle. That's good for finishing oil. I use it on salads, over grilled vegetables, even just with bread. And frizzle handles a high heat when I'm grilling or frying. You can actually see the harvest date right on every single bottle, which I love. It is fresh, never blended, and it tastes like it's supposed to, right? Great like that. And now they've got olive oil mayos and aioli in stores, rich, tangy, and made with the same quality oil. So go to graza.co and use the code LEMON for 20% off of your first order and grab the mayo at your local grocery store. Support comes from Bio-Optimizers. Now, let me tell you about something that I have been adding to my nighttime routine. It's called Magnesium Breakthrough. I kept hearing about it, deeper sleep, feeling calmer, better recovery, but you know, me, I don't like talk about things unless I try it. I don't put it on the show unless I try it or like it. So what makes this different is that it combines 7 forms of magnesium plus cofactors that help your body actually absorb it. Most supplements only use 1 or 2. Now I've started taking it before bed. I'm paying attention. I'm tracking my sleep, noticing how I feel in the morning, seeing whether I wake up cleaner, and quite frankly, more rested. That's important. So here's the part that I respect. There's a 365-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee, a full year. That's confidence. So if you want to try it with me, go to biooptimizers.com/DonLemon and use the code DON15 for 15% off. Make 2026 the year you finally sleep the way you're supposed to sleep. All right. Thank you so much to our sponsors and welcome back, everyone. So here's the thing. We got a lot of folks to talk about. You know, Donald Trump was not happy today. I'm going to show you more of that. Not happy because the Supreme Court smacked him down today. I want to bring in now Bharat Ramamurthy. He served as a deputy director of the National Economic Council and advisor for strategic economic communications in the Biden-Harris administration. And Heather Boucher is here, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, a senior research fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School, and former member of the White House Council on Economic Advisors. So thank you both for joining. I appreciate it. Also, just a little bit later on, you saw that our legends are here. Our legends may have some questions for you in a couple minutes if you guys are willing to take questions because they are very good at it. Warning to the legends, quick questions. But first, welcome. Heather, when you heard this ruling today, your thoughts?
Well, this was long expected. There had been a lot of hoopla about when this would come down. You know, my first reaction was, what will this mean? Were sets of questions about what this would actually mean for the economy. And my instinct was that, given everything that we've seen coming out of this White House from Scott Bessent, from Kevin Hassett, the National Economic Council director, Bessent, of course, the Treasury Secretary, was that Trump would find other ways to impose the tariffs. So, my sense, hearing this announcement today was not that this was going to change the facts on the ground in terms of whether or not there would be tariffs. My sense was also not that this would mean that Americans would somehow get that rebate from all the tariffs that they have been paying. But I think there was a sense of sadness for how much chaos the U.S. economy has gone through. We also got new numbers today on economic growth, and they don't look, they're not terribly bad, but they aren't great. And the economy is not on the kind of trajectory that we would like it to be on. President Trump promised that we would see investments in manufacturing and construction as a result of these tariffs. That's not what we've seen. This has been a failed policy in so many different ways. And so for me, it's sadness, that the economy is not going to deliver for the American people in the way that it can and it needs to. So, frustration. I think that is the overall feeling today.
Did you say that you didn't expect the people to get back the money, or you don't expect the people to get back the money that they paid in?
I mean, this is going to be very chaotic. All that.
Did you hear? Did you hear what Kevin O'Leary said? Did you hear that before?
No, I did not hear that part.
He's saying I want both of you to hear this. I'm going to play it again, okay? And because this goes into your answer, and then it'll help bolster what you're saying. But let's play a little bit of it. It may not play all of it, but play it again, Andy.
It's not a great day for me. We were humming along nicely until this morning. Here's what's happening on the ground. I know you've been talking about the politics and the policy, but let's talk about a business making $100 million in sales. It might have paid out $5 million in the last 14 months on these tariffs. And they're in my portfolio. I got phone calls from our customers, from our lenders because we borrowed against our line of credit, and from our shareholders that we reduced distributions on during this period waiting to settle on the tariffs. They all want their money back. Now, to be compliant, what am I supposed to do? I don't even know how this is going to get filed. It's going to be with Treasury, not the IRS, I assume. I'm going to try and get a meeting with staffers, best of staffers, when I get to the State of the Union next week to see if they can give me some guidance, because my head's getting squeezed from the top and the bottom to be compliant. And every business in America is going through this right now. There are people that want their money back within the distribution, shareholder, and lender system. And for me, and I'm telling you right now, you're the first to hear it, I'm setting up a resource called wondertrust.com, hiring, if not hundreds, thousands of accountants and lawyers, because I don't know how else to be compliant. And I'm going to use them with my companies who are just, what else are we supposed to do? Because everybody wants their money back. And I don't know what the policy is going to be on that. It's not a great afternoon for me, to be honest with you.
Do you feel like you...
Okay, so...
Not a great afternoon. I mean, here's the thing. The president imposed these tariffs knowing full well that they were illegal and that he probably couldn't do it, saying he didn't really care. He wanted to impose it. He wants to punish other countries. He wanted to boost domestic manufacturing and the like. Got his punishment in, didn't get the investment that he wanted. But now, because the Supreme Court has ruled them illegal, everybody should get their money back. But who's going to get their money back and how? This is chaotic. And this is also, by the way, the way that the president is paying for those massive tax cuts to those at the top of the income distribution. So now we're left with a bigger budget deficit on top of this, administrative chaos. And don't forget that, of course, thanks to Elon Musk, the administration has let go a lot of the experts across government that could help make this go more smoothly. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going to be enormously frustrating, and none of that is going to be good for spurring the kind of investment that we need to see in things that matter across the United States. So this is just more bad news for American families.
Bharat Ramamurthy, you've been sitting around, sitting here, not sitting around, but sitting here being very patient about this. I mean, look, Heather makes a very good point. This is how he's going to pay the rich people who are already very rich, those massive tax cuts. They're still going to get the tax cuts, but then in the end, the American people, the average person gets screwed in this.
Yeah, I just want to put some numbers behind all of this. So far, under these now illegal tariffs, the administration has collected $175 billion.
Wow.
And if you do the math back of the envelope, there's a little bit over 100 million households in the United States. So that works out to about $1,500 per household in the United States. So this is not chump change. A lot of this money, 90% of it, according to some studies, has been paid by U.S. businesses who in many cases have passed along those higher costs to American consumers. And we've seen it. We've seen it at the grocery store where the cost of coffee and bananas and other products that we import have gone up thanks to these tariffs. Well, now we don't know how the companies that have paid these tariffs are going to get their refunds. If I were to guess, there's going to be a lengthy litigation process. It's going to take months and months and months for any of these companies to get a single dollar back. And then we all lived this experience through the pandemic in the Biden administration. If the company that paid the tariff gets some money back from the government, how likely do you think it is that they're going to pass along that money in the form of lower prices to American consumers? I think it's pretty unlikely. Okay, so that money, that $175 billion, is basically gone forever, in my mind. Second thing to remember is that the president announced today, 2 hours after the Supreme Court opinion, that he's going to use another legal strategy to impose new tariffs in place of the ones that just got struck down. And according to his Secretary of the Treasury earlier today, Scott Bessent, his analysis is that these new tariffs are basically going to recreate the amount of tariffs that were in place before they were struck down. And so we're really talking about replacing one set of tariffs that have been invalidated with another set of tariffs that are probably going to be, it's pretty similar in size and scope. And so even if you do get your money back as a company, you're probably looking at paying a similar level of tariffs in the future. So again, if you're a company, are you really going to pass along lower prices to consumers if you know that you're going to have to pay more tariffs in the future? So really, it's the way I'm thinking about it is that we're much closer to the beginning of this than the end of it. Today's ruling was a setback for Trump, but it's really not going to make much of a difference for American businesses and consumers, because the one thing that Donald Trump loves is tariffs. He's been flexible on so many other things in his lifetime in politics, but he loves tariffs, and he's going to figure out any possible way of imposing them. And that's going to mean real cost for American businesses and for American consumers.
Yeah, you said it wasn't chump change. I'm going to call it Trump change, is what it is. That's what I believe what it is. I'm gonna bring in now. First, let me show a little bit. I want to show you one thing before I get to the legends here, and that is Donald Trump. Let's see. He said he wanted to be. Oh, this is the perfect one to play. The economist Justin Wolfers talking about the Trump tariffs. Here it is.
When you look at today's numbers, what do they tell us about the effectiveness of Donald Trump's tariffs?
Oh, wow. If the trade deficit this year is bigger than it was last year, and this year we have high tariffs and a trade war, and last year we didn't, I guess it doesn't require a lot of fancy statistics to infer that Trump's tariffs didn't help the trade deficit. Now, that's beside the fact that the whole thing was a mistake to begin with.
Does anybody disagree in this on this screen?
I mean, the trade deficit is one thing. I just keep coming back to the fact that it was supposed to spur investment in manufacturing. And that is not what we've seen, right?
Yeah.
So because, right, remember all the other things that this president has done that have actually discouraged domestic investment. He tore up all sorts of programs, great programs, by the way, that we put in place during the Biden-Harris administration that would encourage investment in high-tech domestic industries. And President Trump has been like, nope, don't want to do that, don't want to do that. And then he put these tariffs up thinking that would solve the problem. It's such a misguided effort. And I think what is hard is that what we want to see is good investment around the country that's creating these good jobs. And the fact that, as Bharat said, he likes tariffs, but why? Why does he like tariffs? He doesn't like them necessarily because they create good jobs. He couldn't care less about that, it seems like. Or, I can't read his mind, but based on his actions, it's not leading to the things that really matter for the American worker.
Yeah.
And American families.
Let's bring in the legends. I want to bring the legends up. I'll ask you this as we bring in the legends. Legends, if you have questions for the guests, let us know. Okay, this is what VC is saying. VC is saying it's a pyramid scheme. I don't know, Heather Bharat, if it's a pyramid scheme, but what do you say to that?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it that, but what it is it's a shell game, I guess is what I would call it. Right there, he's imposing these tariffs with one legal authority. The Supreme Court, after many, many months, strikes it down, says you can't do that. Well, he's ready to go 2 hours later using a different legal authority to impose a similar set of tariffs. And I'm sure those will be challenged in court, but it's going to take another 9 months or another year for those to get struck down. And then guess what? There's 2 other legal authorities that are available to him. And so with somebody who is so dead set on imposing tariffs, for whatever reason, it's pretty hard for the court to strike them down one after another without there being this really negative impact on American companies and, most importantly, on American consumers.
Okay. Legends, quick questions. Panelists, quick answers. Jen Griffin first. Make sure you guys are unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for coming. I have 2 questions. The first one, the tax cuts that everybody's been talking about for years that have gone to the highest percent, why do people keep saying those are permanent? Are those indeed permanent, or can they be reversed with legislation?
Heather?
they can always be reversed with new legislation. I think that so often people will talk about them as permanent because it is proved to be year after year really hard to undo tax cuts once they're in place. I mean, it's really interesting because a tariff is just a tax. It's a tax by a different name. It's essentially the same thing. You're imposing a fee on some sort of economic activity, and yet while President Trump likes tariffs, and some people do, it's really hard to get Congress to raise taxes, especially, as we have found, even on the wealthy, unfortunately. But it is possible. It is possible to undo this and to change. And so I think that is what we need to be talking about and organizing towards is, how do we do that? There are a lot of great ideas out there, lots of ways that we can tax wealth at the top, tax incomes at the top, and make up some of that gap in our public revenues.
Didn't part of the ruling, didn't Neil Gorsuch write that this was basically taxation without representation, right? These tariffs. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Did you want to say something, Bharat?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing, which is that Heather's right that tax cuts are often hard to get rid of and that you can always change the law. But in the most recent bill that the Trump administration passed, they did extend certain tax cuts forever, what that means is that Congress would have to pass a new law in order to change that. But the tax cuts that they made permanent are the ones that benefit people at the very top and the ones that cut the corporate tax rate. So I don't know if anybody watching has an estate that's worth $30 million. But if you are, you're lucky because the Trump administration said that you don't have to pay taxes on any estate under $30 million. Okay,
yeah, only Kev has one that's
so
worth $30
that's
million.
not
Jen.
actually permanent then. It's just a talking point.
No, it's permanent in the sense that Congress would have to pass a new law that says we're changing that from 30 million. Now, I want to contrast that with, you might have heard about a Trump administration policy called no tax on tips, right? And that is supposed to benefit, working people who make some of their income on tips. Unlike the estate tax thing that I talked about, no tax on tips is only for 3 years. In other words, after 3 years, it goes back to, you're taxed on tips. So the difference is that Congress would then have to come in 3 years and say, we want to extend that. You have to pass a new law that says we're going to extend it. That's always harder, right? And so the point is they made permanent all the things that benefit wealthy people and corporations. And then they made temporary all the things that were the small number of things that were actually supposed to benefit working people.
Okay, you guys aren't
priorities.
You guys aren't doing great on the short question, short answers. Jen, for your second question, I'll get back to you. I want to make sure that other folks get in. Who is Raul? Did you have a question? Make sure you're unmuted. Quick question, please, so everybody can get to ask. We can't hear you. Let's go to the next person.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. My main question is, I'm seeing disaster capitalism at its best, right? Like when you see somebody like Kevin O'Leary going on, whatever network and mentioning that he's going to hire accountants. I used to work for a big accounting firm. And my question is, how do we monitor and how do we, it's difficult to stop that kind of thing because, there's something behind this. And when he's kind of plugging that he's going to hire accountants and stuff like that, it kind of raises a red flag on my side.
Well, when he said that, I was thinking, gosh, this is really a full employment program for accountants, right? Because so many changes and lawyers, so many changes making it so hard for companies to comply. But then all of that is just raising costs in ways that are inefficient. They don't make a lot of sense, and that's bad for American consumers. And it is really a problem.
Okay. Who is next with their hand up? I can't see because the screens are so small. Is it Andrea?
Hi, everyone. My question is, and this was Woodward who said this, I believe, that everything that Trump touches, it dies. I think it died. And can he file bankruptcy for the 6th time now?
We might have to file bankruptcy for the country. He added $8 trillion worth of debt just in his first term. He's tracking towards adding trillions more in debt. A lot of that money has gone to big tax cuts for the rich and big corporations. He's running the country like he ran his casino, except we don't have the option of filing for bankruptcy.
And everybody, don't forget to vote, please.
Kev.
That was it.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. So my question is, what are the global ramifications of this? Because rich or poor, when you play with people's money, that's automatic chaos. So I feel like a shitstorm is coming based on what O'Leary said alone. Because he seems scared. He never seemed scared.
It's already here.
Yeah. No, I think that
Probably
it's going to lead to all sorts of problems because, part of this is that when you impose a tariff, other countries respond by imposing their own tariff. You're going to make our goods more expensive. We're going to make your goods more expensive. So now all of that's thrown into chaos. If you work for a company that exports goods to foreign countries, your stuff might be more expensive now, and fewer people are buying them abroad because other countries have put tariffs on it. Now we're going to see a whole nother round of that as these new tariffs come into place to replace the old ones. So I think all of this is leading to less trade, less investment, and fewer jobs. And it's just, one big chaotic outcome.
Katie?
Hi guys, thanks for being here. Just as like regular everyday people, what can we do and how can we help ourselves? Because it just feels like, at least to me, I can't trust either side of government at this point, and I just feel like we're the ones that are being screwed and the ones that are being failed.
That's a very good question, and because it's true, that's why you feel that way. But go ahead, Heather, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, that is such a hard question, Katie, because I think that part of what you're seeing today is that alone we can't do much, right? These are forces that are bigger than any of us individually. One of the things that I did when I was in the Biden White House was that I traveled to communities all across the country to learn about how they were investing in new industries. And one of the things that in every community I visited, they talked about the role of trade policy. They talked about the role of what was happening in Washington and how that was helping or hurting their community. And so you watch what's happening today and the chaos that Bharat just talked about. If you live in a community anywhere in the country and you're trying to help your community thrive, figure out what kind of economy you can have, what you should be investing in, all of this is making it that much harder. So what you need to do is figure out how to organize to change policy in Washington to make it so that it's more sane and sensible and focused on what matters, which is economics, for communities all across the country. I know that's not an easy answer, but I mean, I think that's the challenge here is that when you unleash these powers that are bigger than any of us and you're taking out so much money from the economy and giving it to the wealthy in a way that's not productive, it really does require good organizing on the ground to push back.
Barbara, make sure you unmute it.
Okay, got it. Sorry. Okay, so my question is, first of all, thank you for being here again. Okay, what's going to happen? And like, when is real accountability going to start coming into play? Like, because we see orders get handed down from federal courts and Supreme Courts and things like that, but then they find a way to sidestep them anyways. And then it's just like, oops, they hopped around it and life goes on. So when is the real accountability going to come in for this regime, for lack of better terms?
Bharat, there is a very similar, your answer I'm sure will be very similar. I don't know if you heard Seth Moulton when he said, Donald Trump will file a lawsuit. He'll do it and someone else will file a lawsuit. And by the time it winds its way through court, it may be the end of the administration. But that is a very good question. When is there real accountability, or is there even real accountability?
I mean, the thing is, Congress could step up at any moment and pass a law that says you can't do tariffs. They could just pass a law that says that. And they won't because, the Republicans in Congress, almost every single one of them, just toe the line with Donald Trump. And they're not going to do anything to hold him accountable. So instead, we're stuck in this loop where Donald Trump and his administration do these outrageous things. Sometimes not. The courts come in and stop them. But then, because of the way our laws work, there's usually some kind of backup plan or some other law that they can take advantage of, especially when on something like tariffs or on some of these ICE raids, where this is a huge priority for them. And they're always going to try to scrounge up some new way of doing it. So again, like Heather, this is an unsatisfying answer. But, unless we see a change of heart from Republicans in Congress, which I don't think is likely, we're talking about, hopefully the Democrats win the House in 2026 and they're able to impose some accountability and stop some of this They can hold hearings, they can subpoena people, they can bring some people to testify before Congress. And then, of course, we're looking at 2028 to get Trump and Republicans out of office. But that's a long time, and we're going to live through a lot of this chaos in the meantime, unfortunately.
I don't know if I have the energy in me to do this until 2028.
Yeah,
I
don't
need a
think
break.
any of us do.
I need a
Honestly.
break. So with more legends and more of our very smart panelists right after this word from our sponsors. 2 minutes. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. February can be heavy. There's so much noise about relationships, who has one, who doesn't, who's doing it right. The truth, most of us are fighting it out as we go and figuring it out as we go as well. So whether you're married, you're dating, single, healing, or just focused on yourself, therapy can help you sort through what you want and what you're carrying. So it can help you take the pressure off and get clear or clearer about your own timeline. So BetterHelp makes it accessible for you. You just fill out a quick questionnaire and they match you with a licensed therapist. If it's not the right fit, then you can switch at any time. They've got more than 30,000 therapists. They've served more than 5 million people. I had been feeling stuck for a while, went to my therapist. So if you're feeling the same way or overwhelmed, this could be a step towards clarity. So get 10% off at betterhelp.com/Don Lemon. That's betterhelp.com/Don Lemon. Support comes from Shopify. When I launched the Don Lemon Show, I had to build everything, brand, merch, systems, all of it at once. It's exciting, but it is overwhelming. I call it terrifying and thrilling all at the same time. Now, you need tools that simplify things for you. And that's what Shopify does. It powers millions of businesses and about 10% of all e-commerce in the US. We use Shopify for our merch right here at the Don Lemon Show, and it makes the entire process seamless from storefront design to payments to shipping and return. You get ready-to-use templates, built-in AI tools to help write product descriptions and enhance photos, and simple ways to run email and social media campaigns so people can actually find you. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Start your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon, and start hearing that cha-ching, right? Everybody wants a cha-ching. Bharat Ramamurthy is here, and also Heather Boucher is here, as well as our legends. And someone had their hand up before who was it? I can't see.
Lori.
I think it was
Was
Lori.
it Lori? Lori, what was your question? Hi, Lori.
Hi. My question is, like, Trump during his presser kept saying that all these countries are stealing from the American people. And what is the real data that I think will definitely refute what he's saying? And then one point after that, real quick, is right after his presser, he's declared and ignored the Supreme Court and did a 10% global tariff now.
Well, I'll take the second one first. So we've known from the get-go that there's a lot of different ways that the president can raise tariffs. Congress has, said you can do it in this position, for this reason, for this reason, for this reason. And so we knew that they were ready to start using these other tools that they have. But as Brad had said earlier, those are also going to go through the courts. It's not clear, how much he'll be able to make use of those over time. But the reality is that he is going to keep the level of tariffs. Now, the problem is that he's pulled in a bunch of money that is now illegal and he probably has to give back. But moving forward, he can still have, the tariffs that he wants because he does have all of these other mechanisms with which he can use. But each of them has its own rules, and some of them have delays and this, that, and the other. So this is going to be rather chaotic. And it's going to, again, lead to a lot of confusion for businesses and customers.
Can I add something on the stealing question? Because I think it's important. What Trump is talking about is that there are certain countries in the world that we have a trade deficit with. And that's very simple. What that means is that we buy more stuff from that country than they buy from us. And he thinks that that's a form of stealing. But it's really just how trade works. So let me give you an example, okay? There's a very small island country called Madagascar. They produce most of the world's vanilla, okay? And so we in the United States like vanilla. So we import a lot of vanilla from Madagascar. We spend a certain amount of money on that. Now, the people in Madagascar, there aren't very many of them, and they're not that wealthy, and so they don't buy very much from the United States. So we have a trade deficit with the country of Madagascar. Does anybody think that we're stealing from them? We're benefiting from the fact that they have vanilla that we want, and so we buy more from them. But Trump imposed a tariff on Madagascar because he thought that they were stealing from us. Okay, so you can see how self-defeating this all is, and how it's all based on this misunderstanding about how trade works and why we benefit from it.
He's not very bright. How does he not get that, or is he just ignoring? He just doesn't care. I don't
I legitimately don't know at this point. I mean, somebody's got to have told them that this is how it works, but I really don't know.
Yeah. Guests, do you guys mind staying a bit longer? I said only till 6 o'clock. If you have to go, I certainly will understand.
I got a few
Are you
minutes.
guys?
Thanks. Yep.
You good? You have a few minutes.
A
Okay,
few more
Maureen,
minutes,
go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. You're muted, Maureen. Boomer.
Listen, I'm exhausted. Are you all exhausted? I am.
Yeah.
I'm not a finance person, but this seems ridiculous to me. I don't know why we couldn't have got something on Trump a long time ago. But having said that, I guess I see the only recourse now is for people to vote and get the Democrats back in, the majority. That would be a start. I don't want to wait until 2028. I would love to see him gone before then. It's just real rough for people.
Yeah.
We're not millionaires.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this: if things go the way Democrats wanted to go in November of 2026, if we actually have a legit election, if Democrats take over the House, then essentially he will be gone. He'll just be a figurehead because he won't be able to get much through. Heather, I don't know. Heather, you don't believe that?
I mean, there's still things he can do. I mean, I do agree with you. Let's be optimistic, but I share the frustration. I live here in Washington, D.C., though. So, I mean, this has been very palpable, I think, for us and what he's done to the executive government, the executive branch and all the government workers who've lost their jobs and what that means for the quality of services and all the different things. So there is still bad stuff he can do. But yes, things will be better after November if we have a free and fair election.
Kelly?
Yeah, we're so tired of all of this, right? And, with the 6-3 conservative majority Supreme Court, he's finally starting to get his hand slapped in a significant way that we see this adult temper tantrum today. But we, at the end of the day, have a lobotomy level of stupid maniac running our country. And these tariffs, I agree that we're going to feel the effects of this for a long time. But at what point in time, what's the tipping point before we enact Article 25? How bad does it have to get that something is happening? Something.
And the problem with Article 25, as I understand it, is that the only people who can invoke it are the people who work for Donald Trump. And, even after all this, there is a level of loyalty and refusal to go against him, even when he's doing things that are wildly unpopular, that are illegal, that are hurting Americans, that are hurting people that these other people in the cabinet say that they care about. There are people in the cabinet where Donald Trump has insulted them and their families directly. They still are loyal to him. So, I don't know what it's going to take for any of these people to step up. And I think the sad truth is that we're stuck with this guy for the rest of his term. And all we can do as Americans is try to, and I'm with you, I'm tired too, is to try to figure out all the different ways of defending our country and defending our values while he's still trying to assault them on a daily basis.
Money.
Still, of course, this is distraction of Epstein at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I want to piggyback on what Sir said here. I cannot see your name. It's so tiny, so apologize for that. But you're right. I want to bring something to you guys' attention. This man couldn't even stay awake to receive his own praises. He went to the Board of Peace meeting that I think he planned in front of the whole world and couldn't even stay awake while they were like, oh, thank Allah for you and destroying our entire Middle East. Oh, we thank you so much. And he over here like this. So like we are not dealing with somebody that is laws. They don't give a fuck about laws. Your tariffs, he doesn't care. And so we need to start acting accordingly. And I know that it's exhaustive for you lovely panelists here that came on our on the show to do your job like you're trying to work like a regular person while we're dealing with this man and these people that don't seem to live in the same reality. And so my thing is like, how do you guys get through your day trying to do your job, trying to actually like do the tariffs and do economic? You went to school for all this stuff. I didn't. Okay. I don't know what you do, but like, it must be so infuriating to have to try to continue to do things on a regular day when this man is not even sitting here listening to a word you have to say. He's not listening to what we have to say right now. And I just wonder, how do you guys think that we're going to get through this when we're dealing with somebody that does not give a fuck about literally anything?
I'll leave that question to y'all.
Yeah. I mean, I feel your pain, and these are tough times. I think the thing that keeps me going though is both energy from conversations like this, that what we're doing matters, right? Coming together really matters. Having these conversations, talking about the implications of what this administration is doing, but also thinking about what we need to do when power changes. So how can we make sure that we are ready, that we have good ideas, and that the federal government is using all of the power that it has on behalf of working people rather than to punish them or to just give benefits for the wealthy? How can we shift that and really use the power for workers? So that's how I get through it. Bharat, how do you get through your days?
Yeah, I agree with that. But, my sympathies really lie with people who are trying to deal with all of this deluge of stuff directly. People who are living in some of these cities where they're dealing with ICE raids and they're just trying to get to work, and all of a sudden they're being pulled out of their cars by masked men demanding to see their papers. I think about people who are trying to run, maybe you have a 2 or 3 person business, but you rely on goods that you're importing from another country. All of a sudden your costs are going up 50%. And you're a good person. You don't want to lay off one of your 3 employees to shoulder those costs. So you're taking the hit on that. And now all of a sudden you're looking at new tariffs and you don't know what they're going to be and how much it's going to be. How are you supposed to plan a budget like that? How are you supposed to run a business like that? And there's, hundreds of thousands of examples of that across the country. So all I can do is have faith. Like Heather says, I like to spend some amount of my time not in the muck with Trump, trying to figure out what's the crazy thing he's doing today, but instead think about when there is an opportunity to do something better, how do we do a better job of it? We were both in the Biden administration. I think we did some good things, but there were some areas where we fell short. And we got to figure out how to do better the next time so that the next Donald Trump doesn't take power 4 years after that.
Yeah,
well,
go vote.
We're not going to last another 3 years with this. This needs to be handled immediately because this is not sustainable at all.
Thank you, panel.
We gotta do it now.
Group of panelists. Thank you very much. I want to thank Seth Moulton, representative who's not here. Bharat Ramamurthy. I'm saying it correctly, right?
That was great. Yep.
Bharat Ramamurthy. He's served as a deputy director of the National Economic Council and advisor for strategic economic communications in the Biden-Harris administration. And Heather Boucher, it's right, it's Boucher. I'm saying it correctly, right, Heather?
Perfect.
Is a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, a senior research fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School, and former member of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. Thank you. I appreciate you joining us. I hope you guys come back. Thank you. Thank you. So, legends, how are you? You guys okay? I can tell how you are.
Alive.
You're dismayed. You're like,
still here.
We are tired.
I'm alive.
Well, look, we learned a lot today. I like it when you guys ask questions, and I like it when we learn. This is like a lesson. I feel like Professor Lemon.
My thing is just like I hear everything they're saying, but it seems like they're banking a lot on the midterms, and we don't even know if we're gonna make it there.
Everybody is doing that.
No.
We need to act now. We need to
I
act
feel you.
right
I feel
now.
the same thing. I feel the same thing. Like, but I keep saying, sorry, I went to
Everybody
move
is
this camera.
defaulting to, you just gotta vote.
Well,
And
it's
vote
our
for
house.
what? Vote for what? Vote.
Our house is
we
on
all gonna be in
fire.
concentration camps by the time it's November if we don't stop playing.
Yeah.
There ain't gonna be nobody left to vote.
Our house is
Yep.
on fire, and we're talking about how we're going to build a fire station in 5 months. Like, that's what we're doing. And it's like, it's great to have a fire station, you guys, but it doesn't really help me when my literal house is on fire now. And Don, if I could just say something about the 2020 fraud that he keeps talking about, why are we not shutting it down and being like, what is your harm? You got 2 presidency terms, didn't you? That is your limit. So
He
what does
thought
it
he should have
matter?
the other one. I know. What is he got
But
2 out
he
of
has
it?
it now. So what
Well, he
does it
doesn't like
matter?
losing, and he lost to Joe Biden. He doesn't like it. I mean, it would have been worse if he had lost to, a black woman or something. That's what it is.
If we have a voter fraud issue, then how did he get elected?
Yeah, I know.
Did
It doesn't.
did
You're
they
trying.
just-
You're trying to make logic something illogical logical. It doesn't
But
work
we
that way.
talk about this like it's a normal conversation. We talk about it as if he has any footing, any standing to talk about this at all. We should just be like, well, he has no damages. He has no harm. He got his 2 things. This is all about his ego. Why are we giving him rest?
We should just do what I tell
Carted
DL.
off the other day. He was asleep on national TV. He could have easily been put in a jail cell. He wouldn't even known it.
He was
Jen,
resting his
it's the
eyes,
media.
Money. I'm going to
It's
tell
the
you what we need to
media.
do. This is what we need to do. What I tell DL Hughley on stage when he gets on my nerves. Shut your ass up. So
You told that to me, Don? Oh my God.
no, I'm saying that's you said. How do we tell Donald Trump?
Read,
to shut
Don.
up? I'm not saying that.
And say it from your chest.
Yeah, say it.
The
The
reason is because of the media. The media
does
is not
not care.
asking the right questions. They gotta
stop.
Yeah.
Another
they're
No
not.
King's
No.
Day. Another No
Don't push
King's
back.
Day, March 24th.
The
Another
media is not asking the right questions. They're treating this like a regular administration. They're not they're putting both sides ahead of being
You already
against
fought the media.
But they can't, right? They can't really fight back because he owns the media.
That's
So
right.
the question,
He protects the media so much.
But the question is, what are we willing to do?
Well, I
think
learned. I told you.
because
We
what
need
I
to
think
surround the White
what,
House.
what I think about is, especially coming up on the end of Black History Month, I think about the people that came before us and all of the challenges that they had. They were watching people, swing from trees, and they were being discriminated against and beaten in the streets and all the things that they sacrificed. I think about my grandparents and all of that. And I say, yes, it will be uncomfortable and all of that, but we keep asking our representatives, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But the real question we have to ask ourselves is,
What are we
what
gonna
are we willing to do? And what are we willing to sacrifice? Are you willing? Don always says it. Don says, you have to be, are you willing to be uncomfortable? I know I'm ready to be uncomfortable. I don't
We're
like
already
the
uncomfortable.
idea
It's
of
pretty
it.
uncomfortable right now, right?
Pretty uncomfortable.
We're not uncomfortable the way that the people that came before us were uncomfortable. That was a whole different thing.
Real
That was
fight.
a whole. Let's be real about this. This
Right.
is
Yeah,
like
we need to surround the White House.
it's like we really got to get out there. And
But this is a different
I
fight.
can tell you living in Minnesota, I'm that level of uncomfortable. I mean, I know I wasn't alive back in the 50s and through the crux of the civil rights
no, this
movement,
is
but
like
living here in
70s and
Minnesota,
80s.
I see cars parked across the street from my house that shouldn't be there. There's no reason for a car to be parked on the side of the street.
I agree. Yeah.
I see videos of people getting stalked because, and they don't even know why, white people getting boxed in by ICE, videos that don't go viral, that don't go nationwide. It is already happening here in Minnesota, people. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
get
thank you.
creative.
Thanks, guys,
Yes,
for
there are
joining us. I've
stories.
got to get out of here because our producers have to get. It's been a long week, and we love you guys. Jen, thank you. Alexis,
I
Andrea, Barbara.
Thank you, Don.
I agree. Democracy Jesus. You better talk sometimes, Democracy Jesus.
Don, how'd it
Jennifer,
It wasn't me this time.
Katie, Keisha, Kelly, Kev the
It's
Creator, Lori
Thank
King,
you, Don.
Maureen,
Thanks,
Made
Don.
Money, Raul, Susan, Tuesday, Willette, and I've got who else? I got another whole group here that I want to thank. And then there Kev, Katie, Barbara, and Lori King. So I think that's
You
everybody.
didn't thank me after you told me to go F myself.
Jen, I wasn't talking about you. I told you I was talking about Trump. Jeez.
I like to tease you. I like to tease you.
When you win your award,
Well,
you better
Democracy
remember
is
all
in
these
here
names.
unmuted. Maybe we could squeeze him in real quick.
Who?
I just wanted to say that just something really exciting. May Money and myself are meeting this weekend in San Francisco for the California Democratic Convention to get in some folks' faces.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you know, I spoke to them. I did a panel with Eric Swalwell was there with a group of people who are attending that. Yeah. So good luck with
We're
that.
gonna be
Let
out
us
there.
know.
We're pulling
Take some
up.
pictures
We'll
and
let you
video
know,
and
for
send
sure.
it to us, okay?
We will. We will.
Doing
Okay.
something. I love it.
Bye,
Okay.
legends. Thank you. Have a good one, okay? Have a great weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. So, look, if you want to know anything about the show, you can go to donlemon.com. Everything you need. Thank you for your support. You can become a member of the program on any platform that you choose. You can subscribe. Subscriptions are free, or you can become a paid subscriber on some of the platforms, but that's how we stay viable out here. And if you're already a member or a paid subscriber, you can gift memberships or subscriptions to folks. And make sure you go, everything is on donlemon.com. Check out our website and check out our merch store because we have some great new items up on our merch store. And I think you're going to love them. Just click on there. Look at these. They're awesome. The first one, Andy, this is the one. I can't wait to get this one. Order it for me. I need to order it. Tim, order it. Somebody order that for me. So 70 sitcom. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so be informed without being inundated until I see you back here on Monday morning. Oh, don't forget, at 2 o'clock on Saturday, we have a new show that drops. So make sure you check that out. And then on Sunday, same thing, that it's going to drop. Make sure you check it out on Saturday and Sunday. We got stuff for you. But until I see you back here for sure, unless there's some big breaking news, at 10 a.m. Eastern time, here on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel, be informed without being inundated and turn the TV off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.